in each gene key, this spectrum of consciousness, the way that Richard Rudd writes about each one of these 64, each one is divided into a trinity. So the expression comes in three: the shadow, the gift, and what's called the siddhi, S-I-D-D-H-I, meaning the divine blossoming or the being state that isn't necessarily something we can do. It is something we just tap into to be. The gift is more action-based in my mind, the way that I see it, that the gift being more human in its nature. It's a little bit more about something I can engage with actively. We also have the most dense side of the spectrum, which is the shadow. And the shadow is not bad. The shadows themselves are, in a way, directives. They show us the contrast. They let us know our traps. They can show us, as Richard puts it, the reactive or the repressive actions in our personality that direct us toward, ooh, that's not comfortable. And then we can get to see, well, if I don't like that, what do I want? Just like in hypnosis, you come in with what you don't want, and then you start saying, well, what do I want? What do I want to align with? And then you entrain your nervous system into being with that. And that's part of what we do with the keys. So the shadow in and of itself is where you find the gift sometimes. Like, for example, diplomacy, right? The gift of diplomacy is found in the shadow of conflict. I wouldn't need diplomacy if there wasn't conflict necessarily. It urges me to find diplomacy inside myself where I can be more kind and understanding. And then lo and behold, the siddhi of peace arises as me, as my being. And so the spectrum of consciousness, each of the 64 in its gradient, allows us to evolve just through understanding the process of kindness and patience with the shadow, curious as to how we landed in there and got tied up in it. And we know it because of the way we're responding and reacting. The gift, which is found from that discomfort, that allows us to tune ourselves in. And the siddhi, or the divine state, which is where we can hang out as our true nature. Right? That's what the super conscious tuning fork. Like, we want to tune into that frequency where problems solve themselves. So to me, the spectrum of consciousness is a tool that acts as a mirror for me to understand myself and others. And I don't necessarily figure it out with my mind. I might have some ahas, like, ooh, I see that pattern. And then there's that moment where I take that deep breath in, where I realize, oh, I see how I've done that, or I see how that's connected. And that is embodying the gift. And then I act accordingly, not with force, but I act accordingly. And then lo and behold, things start working out. Serendipities arise. And that's why this is an evolutionary process, sitting with the spectrum of consciousness.